interview for the TripleA-reno Home Show. Today I have the pleasure of being here with Dan Podjed. Hi, Dan.
Hello.
Hi. So Dan, he's one of the partner of TripleA-reno. He's our anthropologist for the project. He's an applied anthropologist, to be specific. He's from Slovenia. He's devoted to developing people-friendly and environmental responsible services, products, and solutions. He's a research fellow at the Research Center of the Slovenia Academy of Science and Arts. And he's a researcher at the Institute for Innovation and Development of the University of Ljubljana. He's also assistant professor for cultural and social anthropology at the University of Ljubljana Faculty of Arts. And on top of that, he has led several projects focusing on applied and interdisciplinary topics like Drive Green, Invisible Lifeways, and so many others. So maybe we can discuss a little bit about these projects. And in a specific, Dan, he's responsible for TripleA-reno and also other Horizon 2020 projects like Mobistyle for all the topics related to applied anthropology, this new word that we discovered through Dan. So Dan, so I see that you're involved in several projects, both on academia, on your private activities. I know that you're also busy writing some books, writing some blogs. Can you tell us a little bit more about your vision on specifically on Horizon 2020 projects, and how do these projects differ from all the other activities that you're busy with as applied anthropologists?
So first of all, hello to everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me to the home show. So we're not together on the road, but we do the best we can at home. And this is a new platform for showing what we can do on a distance. And I think we're doing well, actually, regarding the situation and spreading the news outside our homes. And this is one of my purposes in life, actually, to share the knowledge with others outside of our anthropological community. So in anthropology, we use a term exogamy. This means marrying people outside of your own community. And I think it's really important for science and for research and development in general to use this approach, the exogamic approach, not to stay in your endogamous community, but to open your knowledge to others, to engineers, to architects, to designers, to the industry, and to show the value of anthropology. And this is what I try to do in various projects, including the Horizon 2020 projects. And I think the Horizon 2020 is actually a great platform for doing projects in interdisciplinary way, and maybe even to make a further step to this transdisciplinarity, really to work together. And I think we have achieved that not only in TripleA-reno project, but in many other projects we do together, also with you, Simona. And the whole point for me is not just to use my anthropological knowledge and skills in the Horizon 2020 projects, but to teach others how to do ethnography, which is our main method, and that the engineers or architects start doing ethnographic methods, and that we go together to the field. I wish it would happen even more often in the future, that we do things together, that we do these ethnographic approaches together, that we go to people to meet them in their homes when we will be able again to meet them at home. And in this way, I think we can make a shift from this expert mindset to more people-centered mindset by talking to people, doing the participant observation, which is one of our core methods, and by living with them. Just if you have one interview, one chat, for example, opens your mind sometimes completely. And there are cases of experts from our Horizon 2020 projects, of engineers, like these hardcore engineers, who started doing ethnography, and they have changed significantly. And for me, this is the biggest achievement. So it shows the value, the applied value of anthropology, and it shows we can do it together. For me, it's really the most important.
Yes, Dan, and we work together with you and the team at Ljubljana on almost all the projects that also at Hagen as coordinator we are busy with. And I have to say that not only to us, but to all the partners and to the different groups that are involved in this, as you mentioned, transdisciplinary projects, it really thought a new perspective. I always say that for me, European projects are like having a big elephant in a room, and everyone sees a different piece of this elephant, and everyone is convinced that the elephant is the tail or the ear or the leg, but you taught us to really see the elephant for the elephant.
And well, I'm really happy to hear about that. And you know what is the thing with the elephant? Maybe sometimes it's not an elephant, sometimes it's a giraffe. And when we look at it from another perspective, and for me, it's also very important to learn from you, from your side, because it gives me so much new, another additional perspective. For example, how the engineers, architects, designers speak, for example, what kind of language they use, and establishing some kind of new language of European projects. This is another big advantage, that we are able to speak one to another. Yeah. So this is a great benefit of this kind of collaborations.
Yeah, yeah. And we actually started to use the same language. I see that now, not only with this project, but also with the others, people stop to talk about users or to talk about customers, and they correct themselves immediately when they start talking about, the users. They say, no, it's not a user, but it's, it's a people-centered approach.
But if we manage to achieve that, I'm really, really happy, because I think it is an important step to stop seeing people as users, customers, clients, and start seeing them as people. And as I often say, nobody wakes up in the morning, looks in the mirror and says, today I will be a better user. Nobody. So we have to be better people. And I think we've managed to do this step in our projects, Horizon 2020. However, this is just the first step, and we shouldn't forget about this. This step, going from expert to the people-centered mindset, is a bit egocentric, let's admit it. So the next step we should do in Horizon 2020, and even more in Horizon Europe, so the next EU program, should be the step to the planet-centered mindset. So to really see that elephant that you mentioned, not symbolically, but to take the elephant in Africa or the giraffe somewhere else into account. So to take all living creatures into account when we do any kinds of solutions. Because then some people say, but isn't it too altruistical, like to take into account plants and animals and the planet? Come on, this is the only, actually it's the most egoistical thing to do, because it's the only way for us to survive on this planet, unfortunately. I mean, we have to take care of other humans and of other beings for us to survive. So it's definitely not pure altruism. It's just the most normal and necessary thing to do. So I really hope we will be able together to do some kind of new solutions which will help the planet and the humanity at the same time to survive. And what is important for me personally is that there is no answer from anthropological side, psychological, sociological, engineering or the side of architecture, the side of medicine, to this kind of questions, such as the environmental or climate crisis at the moment. So we need to work together to develop the solutions for the future. And each of us can bring a little piece to this answer. And it's the same actually now with the COVID-19 pandemics. So if we are waiting for the pharmacy or the medical sciences to give us some kind of solution, it's not enough. So we have to include all fields of science to work for solutions for the future. Because even if you make some kind of medicine for the virus, for the disease, how it will be accepted, it's again culturally specific. What kind of decisions people make, it depends on the person, on the and what will be the long-lasting effect of this kind of solutions on humanity. So we have to find this kind of solutions together.
Yeah, solutions that need to be found together, and decisions that depend on users or depend on people, as you mentioned. And that's indeed the core idea that you're dealing with also in TripleA-reno, right? How to really deeply understand people, to come towards them. So that's really the added value of TripleA-reno, in my opinion. We're not just providing technical solutions, but together with this group of anthropologists like you, we're not just putting the sauce of social science and humanities in our project, but we make it intrinsical. And indeed, TripleA-reno is about attractive solutions, affordable solution, and acceptable solution. So everything is tailored towards the person that will decide what to do. So that's absolutely important. And we saw, I have to say, a revolution in the mindset of our partners. I don't know if this was present or if it's something new, but definitely we started to see how the team started to work together, and it's not just about business as usual, user experience, design. It's way more. It's really way more. And we started to understand us as consortium partners first, and we kind of mutated a bit. So engineers became a little bit more, anthropologists, and anthropologists became a little bit more engineers. So we're a new species in TripleA-reno. We're not humans.
This is what we need. We really need this kind of new species. This is really important what you said. So we need the hybrid species. We need the experts who can cover various fields at the same time. They call them sometimes slash experts, like you can be like the techno-anthropologist, or with a dash, techno and then a dash anthropologist. So we need this kind of experts which bridge the gap between different fields, because in this way we can collaborate, and each of us has to adapt a little bit. And like you said, we have an example also of a such person at the Innovation and Development Institute of University of Ljubljana. So Jure Veteršek, who was a hardcore engineer at the beginning of our projects and our collaboration, and now he started to call himself a humanistic engineer. So for me, this is another beautiful achievement of this kind of collaborations. And I have also started to call myself more techno-anthropologist, because I started to understand the value of technologies much more for the future of humanity. And this is another important topic, not only how to survive on the planet, but how to live with technologies that we are developing for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see here what you highlighted. I think it's two types of speed in innovation. So we have a slow track in innovation. So it is like long-term evolution that we're having, like this hybrid new professionals that we are developing within these projects, but also we have a very fast track of innovation and revolution that is, for instance, the one that we're seeing in these 2 months of lockdown with the pandemic, for instance. And somehow we are living in a moment in which these 2 tracks are overlapping. So I really think that we need to think about how this changing lifetime, they're so fast, are going to change our lives. So we have been hearing about this term, social distancing, for so long now in these days. And well, we know what it means to be socially distant. Even though we are not just socially distant, we are like physically distant. My take on this is that, and I would like to discuss this with you, we are living in a transforming area of digitalization, and we see with the experience, for instance, of the road show, that can become a home show, so you can see where I am and we're still connecting. Are we socially distant? I don't think so. Can we develop new solutions that can really help and support people in their homes? Really, like when we talk about, for instance, home renovation, can we imagine people developing projects, solutions for their homes, for the family, even being like disconnected by people, like professionals? Are these digital platforms going to work for real? I don't think that we are discussing about social distance. It's more like a personal distance that we have to maintain. But social, it's maybe a little bit more complex project or complex idea. What do you think?
I think the term is actually wrong. So the term social distancing, and I think it shouldn't be used. It was a wrong decision to use it in the media, also by the European institutions, by the national institutions. The right term is, like you said, personal or physical distance between people, but it does not have to do anything with people staying friends, staying in touch. On the contrary, because we have become much more used to tools such as Skype, Zoom, and other such telecommunication tools, we have become even more close to the people that are physically away from us. So this is definitely not time for social distancing and isolation in that sense. It's just a way how to not to stay in contact with people. And this term was actually discussed long time ago, already in 1960s, by Edward T. Hall, an anthropologist, who used the term proxemics. So he explained that in different cultures, in different societies, people have different distances between themselves when speaking, for example, face to face one to another. In Finland, in Estonia, or in Scandinavia, the distance between people is much bigger than, for example, in Italy, in Croatia, in Slovenia, and so on. And then he compared the countries and the average distance between the people. And now we have all become, because of the pandemics and because of the virus, warned about this physical distance and that we shouldn't get too close to each other. And then it leads to very, for me, okay, it's also annoying, boring, but also very funny how we behave. For example, you meet somebody on the street, you're a good friend, and you would hug that person, kiss that person, shake hands, but instead, how do we greet each other? Similarly, as Mr. Spock from Star Trek, we raise our hand and say, live long and prosper. Or not exactly that, but we just greet that person from a distance and say something kind, and then we go away. So in these situations, we see how important for people is this physical proximity. So in these 2 months, our society has changed.
Yeah.
We have become, our societies actually in plural, we have become more like atoms or molecules of gas, avoiding each other as much as possible instead of being together, being close to each other. We don't need the social distance, we need social proximity.
Yeah, that's indeed the topic that I think it's also very pertinent to TripleA-reno, because we see from one hand this personal distancing, which is now appreciated or sought by people. But from the other side, we have this social connection, especially like social media or like digital platforms, and we see like the huge boom in usage of this like Zoom platform, also the tiredness of using all this platform. So how do you foresee, because I really like to go back and talking about the concept of platforms to connect the different stakeholders that are involved in a renovation. How do you foresee the future of home renovations, also considering the fact that it's very likely that people are going to use their homes in a different ways, right? So how do you foresee a project like TripleA-reno should adapt to that?
Not only the spatial component has changed, it has also something to do with the temporal component. Our time, perception of time has changed. And this quite long-lasting formula of Robert Owen, a socialist from the 19th century, who suggested that the ideal formula for the human being should be 8 hours of work, 8 hours of leisure, and 8 hours of sleep, which in a way, it sounds great. It has lasted quite long. Throughout or at the end of the 20th century, we tried more or less to correlate with that. And suddenly now, due to the pandemics, this formula was suddenly gone. So we were stuck at home. There was nowhere to go. I mean, you had to work, many of us had to work from home, not everyone, of course. What you asked is how this will affect our lifestyles. So it definitely will. And I really hope the employers have realized first what is the value of their workers, the true value of the labor force. And second, I really hope that they realized that people can still work and don't have to appear at so-called work every day, because in this way we can decrease significantly pollution. It does not only affect quality of life, it affects the quality of air. After all, we produce so much greenhouse gases by driving here and there, and we produce so much PM10 and other microparticles which harm our health. And now it's a perfect time to change our mobility habits. So home can become something else than just home. It can be also a working place. It can be maybe sometimes a school for children. But I really hope we will take something from this lesson and not just go back to the 2019, so to the last year. I think this would be actually the most dystopian scenario, to say after all of this, let's go back. Sorry. Wrong.
We see that we're really moving from the micro to the macro perspective. So from the renovation of a home to a renovation of a lifestyle. And that's absolutely what we're seeing right now. And I'm really glad to have this conversation with you, because like the conversation we're having right now is the same conversation we typically have in our projects, in which we tend to narrow down the conversation or the scope of the conversation, but we do have to widening and to make it open. And that really helps you to change the perspective. And it and you see this butterfly effect, that it's not just one thing, that it's a mutual connection, but there's so many connections between actions, between knowledge that you can spread, and things can change. So we need people that inspire, and that's again the concept of the people-centered approach in renovation, or like change management, or in change in any type of way, inspiring people, saying something which is out of the box, being proud and being like brave, and to do it for the first time. So the concept of heroes and journeys to be shared, it's extremely important. How do you think this? Well, first of all, connected to the TripleAreno project, maybe you can say something about heroes of renovation, but how do you see that this pandemia and what's happening right now with COVID will make these heroes emerge?
We need heroes for renovation of buildings, and it's very clear, because you need individuals who will push this forward, who will not just say, okay, we have to agree about something, and they say, let's do it, people. It's important, because our block of flats will look better, because we will do something for environment. And they also have this kind of internal urge to do something, to change things. And identifying these people, I think it's crucial for any kind of implementation of any kind of technological or technical solutions on the European scale. Why? Because we shouldn't focus only on technologies, we should focus on the people. We have the technological solutions, they are ready, they could be implemented, but who make the problem? People. And what is our problem, or our problem of experts, that we see people many times from the wrong angle. So we think we treat people as homo economicus, the economical, the rational man, but we are not. This is just one component of Homo sapiens, Homo economicus. We are also other things. We are irrational beings. We are emotional beings. We are also something that is called Homo reciprocans, which is often much more important for communities than these economical benefits. And people don't just calculate constantly. They don't walk around with calculators and calculate how much will this cost me and this cost me. Come on, you make decisions. Why? Because you like a certain color. Why? Because you like a certain neighbor. You listen to that person, and that person will say, let's do it, people. And then, okay, let's do it. Why not? And this is why we have to use the anthropological approaches too, or approaches of social sciences, to implement the most up-to-date technological solutions.
Yeah, so we've learned that there are so many other aspects. It's not just technology. So technology is there. It's more about connecting people with knowledge. But of course, knowledge comes in different ways. And of course, we are embedded in this social context in which social norms, personal norms have different values and have different weights, also depending on what type of society you live in. So also understanding cultural differences between countries, because we oftentimes talk about Europe, but Europe is, a collateral, idea that it maybe doesn't really exist, or it does exist. But
no, but what you said, this is really important. The Europe is actually a collateral idea. This is an imaginary community. I mean, Europe is a peninsula of Eurasia geographically. What is Europe? Why is it actually a separate continent? And what is the meaning of Europe now? I think now, in this time, we should especially ask ourselves, has the European Union achieved its goals and its values in the time of the pandemics? What has happened? First, the borders, the national borders of countries have closed. And all the values of European Union, like brotherhood, unity, mutual support and so on vanished. So I think this is really very difficult time for the European Union to go back on track and to start helping each other. So who helped, for example, Italy in the time of the pandemics? China, Russia, Cuba. And the European Union just waited and let's see what will happen. So, and the first rule in this time of crisis was, okay, let's take care of ourselves and our own nation. But this is wrong. This doesn't go hand in hand with the people-centered and the planet-centered approach. So we shouldn't be focused so much only on Europe, European Union. Come on, there are people all around the world. And we are actually, if we speak again about the boats and the ships, we are in a much better boat overall, the European Union, than many people in general. And this is again very egocentrical and culture-centrical to start always looking from our own perspective. What is good for us? Come on, we have to make solutions which will benefit everyone. And I think this should be also a long-lasting goal of the next calls of the European Union, how to reach the planet, how to reach others, and how to involve others. You know, this is the point of the people-centered approach, to involve people in the development of solutions and to ask people in Cuba, in China, in Russia, how can we help you with this kind of solution?
I think also the message of Europe, not to leave anyone behind. So we really hope that will be our mission and for the future. Dan, as always, we could stay here and sit and talk forever. This is what happens during our social dinner. That's, it never lasts, it never ends, basically. So, but I really thank you for the time that you took to have this interview with me. But before you leave, I would like to wrap up this interview with a message of hope, because I really believe that we do need hope. What is your vision of hope for, the future of renovation, but a renovation in society in general after this time of crisis?
We shouldn't renovate only houses, buildings. We should renovate our society. Now we had the time of crisis, but in comparison to other crises in the future and in the past, this was a small crisis. It was a virus, a pandemic, which will perhaps it will stay with us, perhaps it will live, but it will not endanger the humankind, most probably. However, there might be some other much bigger crises on the horizon, such as the climate crisis, and we shouldn't just forget about it. So somehow this climate crisis has just vanished from our horizon. Last year, we had Greta Thunberg on the cover of the Time magazine, and she was even nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. What is the person of the year of this year? Well, it's not a person, it's actually a virus. And I'm sure there will be a virus on the cover of the Time magazine this year. So we shouldn't be so much focused on the virus. We should be focused on other people, on the humanity, on the planet, and on our own survival. And it's really important that we keep what is the most precious, and in my opinion, it's democracy. So we should, this is something that is really endangered at this time, and we shouldn't just leave it behind, and we should take care of it, because without it, I think the European Union and our society that we have built doesn't have much sense. So we have to stay together and keep what is really precious.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for your message. That was an incredibly interesting interview. So you wrap up with this beautiful message. Technology is there. The future is about connecting people with knowledge, and the future and our hopes is not just to renovate our homes, but let's really try to renovate our society as a whole. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you so much, Simona.